The darkness envelopes Poland, and no one knows that this is the final moment of calm before the storm. The black clouds swirl ominously, signaling the impending wrath that is about to descend. The entire city holds its breath, unaware that in just a few hours, their lives will be completely upended. The wind begins to howl, shaking everything in its path. The night becomes suffocating, filling the air with an overwhelming sense of dread. And as the clock strikes midnight, the true nightmare begins. The first drops of rain begin to fall, sounding like the drums of an impending battle. Within minutes, the tiny raindrops turn into torrents of rushing water, sweeping away dirt and leaves, transforming the once peaceful river into a raging current. The streets start to flood, and everything descends into chaos. The relentless rain continues, as if nature is unleashing all its fury upon the land. The ground, unable to absorb the deluge, gives way to enormous pools of water everywhere. People start to sense the imminent danger, but no one can yet imagine the level of destruction the flood is about to bring. The Vistula River, the largest river in Poland, suddenly transforms into an uncontrollable beast. Water from the tributaries rushes in at an alarming speed, causing the water level to rise higher than ever before. Huge waves crash against the banks, sweeping away debris and even large pieces of wood. Bridges tremble under the immense pressure, as if they could collapse at any moment. The river, once calm and serene, now rages with a fury that threatens to engulf everything in its path. The people living along its banks can only watch in terror, helpless against the unstoppable force of nature. Krakow, the historic and cultural city of Poland, has now turned into a vast sea of water. The familiar streets have been transformed into temporary rivers, with the rushing floodwaters sweeping away everything in their path. Vehicles are swept away like toys, trees are uprooted, and shops are submerged up to their roofs. The people of Krakow frantically move to higher ground, desperately trying to save whatever they can. The once beautiful scenes of the city have become blurred under the murky water. Panic spreads quickly, and the flood shows no signs of stopping. In Sandomierz, an ancient city, the residents are living through the most terrifying moments of their lives. The floodwaters rush through every house, every street, turning everything into a vast, murky sea. Panic-stricken, people climb onto their rooftops to escape the water, looking down at the raging torrent below with fear that they cannot hide. With each passing minute, the water rises higher, swallowing up whatever remains. In despair, they cling to each other, hoping for rescue, though it seems increasingly distant. Frightened eyes and desperate prayers rise up into the gloomy sky, but will anyone hear them? Even Warsaw, the resilient capital of Poland, could not escape the devastation of the flood. The bustling streets have now turned into quiet but deadly rivers. The floodwaters sweep away everything, from vehicles and belongings to the modest dreams of the people. Once grand houses are now just walls submerged under the water. The sound of rescue sirens pierces the gloomy air, yet somewhere, people are still waiting, desperate but clinging to their last hope. Warsaw, the heart of the nation, now beats painfully amidst this terrible flood. The devastation of the flood did not stop at homes, it also struck directly at the nation's critical infrastructure. Bridges that once stood strong are now reduced to rubble, lying silently amidst the raging waters. Major roads have been severed, paralyzing transportation and making rescue efforts exponentially more difficult. Electricity, water, and all communications have been disrupted, plunging the entire country into darkness and chaos. Everything that people had built over many years is now just floating debris, powerless against the brutal force of nature. The aftermath of this flood will haunt Poland for many years to come. As the flood reached its peak, rescue teams began an unyielding battle against time to save every life. On small boats, they navigated through the flooded alleys, making their way to isolated homes. Cries for help echoed everywhere, with weak hands waving desperately from narrow windows, where their last hopes hung by a thread. Despite the looming danger, the rescuers did not falter, they knew that every second was precious. In the dark of night, the beams of their flashlights shone like torches of hope, but the number of lives they could save was still heartbreakingly small compared to what the flood had already claimed. Life and death were now separated by only a thin margin. In the flood, the possessions and most cherished belongings of the people were swept away like grains of sand. Their beloved homes, once filled with countless memories, were now reduced to cold, murky walls submerged in muddy water. The residents stood before the devastation, tears streaming down their faces as they watched the waters carry away everything they had worked for their entire lives. Despair was etched on every face as they realized that no matter how hard they tried, nothing could stop the relentless force of the flood. Cries of sorrow and desperate prayers echoed in the darkened sky, but the only response was the indifferent, cold rush of the water. This tragedy has taken from them not only their possessions but also their faith in a peaceful future. The material losses are immeasurable, but the greatest pain this flood has inflicted is the sudden separation from loved ones. Amidst the chaos, many families lost their dear ones without the chance to say goodbye. Parents searched desperately for their children, and lost children cried out for their parents in vain. Despair spread everywhere, as people frantically searched through homes and streets, clinging to the faint hope of finding their loved ones. But the more they searched, the more their hope faded, leaving only emptiness and an unending pain. This is not just a natural disaster, it is a wound that will never heal in the memory of every Polish citizen. As the waters began to recede, the people of Poland had no time to mourn, they had to start over. Relief centers were set up everywhere, providing temporary shelter for those who had lost their homes. Food parcels and bottles of water were shared among strangers, all united by the same fate. Rescue workers and volunteers worked tirelessly, day and night, to ensure that no one was left behind. Though their eyes were weary, they still shone with hope for a brighter tomorrow. The solidarity and sharing in the face of disaster became a spiritual lifeline for thousands during these difficult days. Hope, however fragile, remained amidst the ruins. Life after the disaster is a new challenge for thousands of Polish families. They were forced to leave their homes and seek refuge in temporary shelters while waiting for the rebuilding process. Families crowded together in small tents, enduring difficult living conditions. Yet, despite everything, they did not lose hope and continued to find ways to maintain a sense of normalcy. Children still laughed and played, and adults still worried about the daily meals, even knowing that the day they could return home might be far off. In these hard times, human kindness became even more precious. They shared meals, warm blankets, and words of encouragement with each other. Resilience and faith in the future remained the guiding lights for them in these dark days. In the face of adversity, the spirit of solidarity among the Polish people became stronger than ever. No one was alone in this battle. Neighbors readily helped each other, working together to clean up and rebuild from the rubble. Reconstruction sites buzzed with activity day and night, as workers and volunteers tirelessly labored to restore normalcy. New homes began to rise, roads were repaired, and life slowly revived from the ashes. Human kindness and unity helped them overcome the harshest challenges, proving that no matter how fierce the flood, it could not break the resilient spirit of a nation. This disaster has left valuable lessons not only for the present generation but also for those to come. In the temporary shelters, makeshift classrooms were organized where children were taught how to respond to natural disasters. These children, with innocent eyes but a newfound understanding of nature's severity, attentively absorbed lessons on how to protect themselves and their families in emergencies. This knowledge is not just information but a precious experience passed down from the previous generation to ensure that such a tragedy will not be repeated in the future. Careful preparation and awareness of safety will serve as a shield to protect the young ones of the nation from the harsh challenges of nature. After the dark days, Poland is rising powerfully from the rubble. New homes, more modern and safer, are being built everywhere. Roads that were severed by the flood are now being restored and upgraded to withstand future natural disasters. Life is beginning to return to normal, but with valuable lessons and experiences. These new walls are not just concrete, they are symbols of the resilience and determination of a nation that does not bow to adversity. From the depths of sorrow, Poland has shown that it can stand up, rebuild, and emerge stronger than ever. And the memories of this historic flood will be forever remembered, not as a pain, but as a testament to the strength of the human spirit.